Ambassador Torres Pereyra, thank you so much for joining us on our program today. I first wanted to start off by asking you a bit more about the Dominican Republic. We see increasing interactions between both the Guyanese government and the Guyanese private sector, with the Dominican Republic government and private sector. But what I know of the DR is your white sandy beaches and you being a huge tourist attraction. Tell us more about the Dominican Republic.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. And well, our country, as you know, you use the notion of the tourist attraction, the fantastic beaches, the diversity, the culinary marvels. As a tourist destination, we have it all. But when it comes to our role in the Caribbean and the perspectives that we have with this intense cooperation that we're developing with Guyana, is basically a decision that started when President Ali and President Abinader of the Dominican Republic started identifying their common values, their common vision, their notion that the Caribbean should continue to unite, to develop an area where we in the Caribbean can feel safe, where we can feel that we're secure, where we can develop an autonomy when it comes to food security. Now with these new developments with energy security. So there's a lot that the Guyanese we will have to discover from our country. And this is the reason why the embassy was opened last year. As I was narrating before, I was ambassador to Israel, and my mission was cut short to come and open the embassy here. I feel privileged that I was given this opportunity, because first, as a career diplomat, you not always have the opportunity to open a new mission, but opening a new mission in a country like Guyana, which is a promise, a country that has all the potential, not only to develop itself, but also to serve as a paradigm for sustainable development to the whole world, is really, really a great privilege.
You mentioned the intense cooperation between the two countries. I have to ask, why now? Why not 5-10 years ago?
First of all, as you know, President Abinader took office in 2020. So before that, it was another government with a different vision and with different priorities. In the case of President Abinader, he has, and also our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Roberto Alvarez, they have made a priority for the Dominican Republic to approach the Caribbean, because they have a different understanding of the geopolitics and the dynamics. And traditionally and historically, our Minister of Foreign Affairs has always been promoting the idea that the Caribbean has to become, as I mentioned before, a zone that can serve, as a model, not only for unity, for peaceful coexistence, for cooperation, for collaboration, and also for sustainable development. So the fact that we had a change of government made it easy for this relationship to flourish and prosper. So this is why we probably didn't have this type of bonds in the past.
Got you. Are there specific areas of focus for the Dominican Republic in terms of its relationship with Guyana and the wider CARICOM?
Yes. Because of the size of our economy, a lot of actors understand that we're all about business. And it's not like that. As I mentioned before, there's a philosophy behind it. And the idea of our president and our government is to unite us through those bonds that historically serve as the basis of our cosmovision, our culture, our history, our shared values. The economy is extremely important, of course, because this is at the end what is going to bring prosperity to the region and is what is going to ensure that our populations enjoy a climate of peace and security where we can develop and ensure that future generations will enjoy this wealth but can also preserve the traditions and the values that makes us so unique.
Okay. We've seen some memoranda of understanding signed, particularly between Guyana and the DR, and I want to talk more about the relationship intensifying, I would say, a bit later on. But first, tell us if those signed agreements sort of signal what you're interested in here in Guyana.
Well, it's not just what we are interested. It's also these are areas that are also of key interest to Guyana. For example, these memorandums also focus on areas like tourism, where I believe Guyana can learn a lot from our experience. In fact, we are working closely with your Ministry of Tourism so we can develop an knowledge and experience sharing program, so we can transmit some of the wealth of experience that we have in that important sector, and you can develop your own capacities. Because look what happens. As you mentioned, we have the white sandy beaches. We are the island in the center. We already reached the milestone of 10 million tourists. So we're trying to develop a project where Guyana can serve as an alternative destination and combine the Dominican Republic and Guyana, because you also have something that we cannot offer. You have one of the most pristine rainforests in the world. You have probably one of the most incredible biodiversities. So if we can combine the two destinations and you can just get a small percentage of the 10 million tourists that we're receiving, it would be super successful. And also, we're aiming to bring Guyanese to train in the Dominican Republic when it comes to hospitality and service. So you can bring also and reproduce this knowledge here, because your country is going to grow, your country, especially because you have been favored to have this visionary leadership that is guiding this process now. I said it before, I've had the fortune of spending time with President Ali. His work ethic, his work rhythm, this it's unparalleled. You understand? So this is a very, very important moment for Guyana. And we are aiming to collaborate in all these areas, not just the areas that comprise the memoranda of understanding, but also anything that we believe could be that can bear fruit for both nations.
Yeah. On that note, I wanted to ask, in terms of collaboration, does the DR in any way see Guyana as a competitor, perhaps taking away some of its tourists or business?
No, on the contrary. As I told you before, we will be complementing each other. The offer that we have is radically different when it comes to tourism. And when it comes to business, what we're aiming to do is basically to collaborate with Guyana in this process of development that you're experiencing. Listen, again, there's no way that with all the potential that you have and with the type of leadership that you have now, there's no way that this country does not achieve the dream of Chedi Jagan. You understand? Mm-hmm. This is the moment. This is the moment.
Tell us a bit more about your interest in Guyana's oil and gas sector, and perhaps what can you help Guyana with?
Okay, you know that without energy it's impossible to achieve development. So what we are looking for is precisely to develop a strategic partnership where we can provide energy security not only to our country but also to the whole region. We have experience, we've had a refinery for over 50 years, for example, but we do not produce oil and gas. When Guyana achieves its target of production, it can serve as an assurance for the whole Caribbean to have that security, especially in a world that is in certain way, how can I say, there's a lot of instability.
Yes.
right? And we being in the region, having that kind of security will guarantee that our population can remain, you know, in a homeostasis of peace and stability in spite of global affairs. Because we have everything here to be independent in the Caribbean. We have everything, absolutely everything.
What exactly are you hoping perhaps to lend to Ghana? Is it expertise? Is it your own partners? What might that dynamic look like?
Well, you know that we don't have the experience in drilling and all that. We're making some explorations in the country to try to find hydrocarbons, but we don't have the experience that now you are gaining because of the presence of these giant, you know, enterprises that have a wealth of knowledge. But what we are going to do is to collaborate actively. Our private sector is very robust, and they are determined to come and invest in Guyana to continue to develop not only the sector of oil and gas, but all the other sectors as well. So this is what we're aiming, to collaborate, to contribute to the development of Guyana, and to promote this concept of security, regional security, that now you can guarantee to all of us.
There has been some talk about Guyana's gas plans, and when the gas energy project at Wales, for example, comes on stream, we would be producing cooking gas that could possibly be exported to the Dominican Republic.
Of course.
Tell us about that.
Of course. Look what happens. As you know, we're one of the largest markets. We're not only the largest economy, but we're also one of the largest markets because of the amount of population. And the population in the Dominican Republic is not just the Dominicans. We have to always consider the island. So we also have the population of Haiti. So if you combine both populations, we're talking about over 20 million people. So it's a big market. So if Guyana eventually develops this capacity, you will be serving a big market. So it will help us in terms of the proximity. It's a commodity, so the prices, you know, cannot be necessarily determined, free will. However, having the possibility of using this fuel to continue to develop our own economy, and at the same time where Guyana continues to develop, I mean, it's just prosperity for everybody. We can also help our brothers and sisters of Haiti with this type of initiatives. Because also remember, we are protecting our forests in the Dominican Republic, but in the case of Haiti, it reaches the point of almost irreversible damage, you know? So we need to have this type of security so we can now start reversing this process of desertification that Haiti has been experiencing. So this will be essential to protect the ecosystem of the whole island. Nature does not recognize the principles of Westphalia. Nature does not recognize borders. So whatever happens in Haiti will affect also the Dominican Republic. So this will be essential for us to protect the forest in the island.
I'm curious to know, at least politically, at the very least, we see that Guyana and the Dominican Republic are very serious about building this relationship. We've also seen the private sectors jump on board. But can you tell us, is there serious Dominican Republic private sector interest here in Guyana, and how is that unfolding?
Listen, it's more than serious, actually. We, during the presidential visit of President Abinader, during his official visit last year in June, he was accompanied by the largest delegation ever to leave the Dominican Republic from the private sector. So in that plane with him was probably 75% of Dominican Republic's GDP. They all came, they all saw, they all interacted with President Ali, and they were all charmed. Not only because of President Ali's charisma, but these are very wise businessmen. They know when they're speaking to an interlocutor that means business, that is serious. So the fact, again, that you have such a leadership that can inspire, the private sector to count on a counterpart that is serious, that is honest, that is, that is about business. It has created a great momentum for the private sector in our country. They're all interested to come because they know that with this type of government, they have a guarantee that their investment will be protected and that they will also go to areas that your government considers a priority in order to continue developing the country. So, for example, we've received visits from the Punta Cana group. I don't know if you're familiar with the Punta Cana group.
Yes.
Everybody knows Punta Cana, but the Punta Cana group is not only hotels, it's not only the airport, it's really a major corporation. And the fact that, the patriarch of the family, came, Frank Rainieri, came and sat down with President Ali and they discussed projects, shows you that we are determined to engage with Guyana in a very serious partnership to develop the country. Also, we received recently the visit twice of Rolando González Bonster. He's one of the major businessmen in the area of energy production. So he has come twice already in less than a month. First to sign an agreement, a cooperation agreement with GPL, and also later to participate in the conference to ratify his decision to come and work together with the government of Guyana to continue developing the projects. We're receiving delegations practically every week, private and public. So I don't know what other evidence you would like me to
They're
to
keeping you
present to
busy.
They're keeping me extremely busy, but I'm extremely happy. As I told you before, how many people have this opportunity, like me, as a diplomat, to be able to be involved in something so big and so promising?
I have to ask, however, it's not just that players from the Dominican Republic private sector are coming to Guyana. There's so many others. You have the Americans, the Europeans, the Africans, for example. Are there any challenges with finding business opportunities and partnerships here in Guyana?
So far, I don't have elements to identify these challenges. As you know, recently we inaugurated the direct flights. So this will allow more businesses from both sides to start interacting. This is a game changer. So far, I have not really identified challenges. I would have to eventually sit down with the people from the private sector to see or to assess their impressions. But so far, I think things are very smooth. And since your country is developing in all fields, I think there's opportunities for everybody.
Are they similarly interested in investing in all sectors, or are they targeting certain areas?
I think they're aiming to invest in diverse sectors. But at the end also, their counterparts in the private sector here are the ones who will point out to them which are the areas that you consider a priority. But for example, I live here, so I know that there are many products and services that you don't have here, that you require. And having a partner like the Dominican Republic so close, also that we come with an agenda that is free of any other compromises. Our agenda is precisely that, to generate wealth for the whole region, to generate stability and security for the whole region. So having that possibility is very promising.
And is the reverse happening? Are you assisting Guyanese private sector players to get into the Dominican Republic?
Of course. In fact, we're trying to coordinate delegations from Guyana to come and visit the Dominican Republic. This is why the direct connection was so important, because having to go through, Florida or Panama, you feel that it's a waste of time and it's so heavy. But now, in 2 hours and 20 minutes, you can be in Santo Domingo, less than watching a movie, and you will be there, and that would make things a lot easier. Also, you can discover all the other alternatives for investment and for leisure that we have in the Dominican Republic. So it's a two-way road.
Yeah. Was it hard setting up that direct flight?
Honestly, if you think about it, I have to be honest, not really, because we arrived recently. And if in less than a year you are able to establish a direct connection, in less than 6 months to establish a direct connection, I think is a prowess. But I have to commend in that regard the openness of the Guyanese government and also the determination of the top brass at Sky High. Sky High, from the beginning, they demonstrated their interest in developing the route. And as soon as we saw the possibility, we made it a priority for us to push in that direction. And Frank Chamizo, the CEO Juan Chamizo, the CEO of Sky High, was also, as I told you, completely determined to engage in business with Guyana and to develop more connections also for Guyanese to be able to travel to other destinations as well.
Yeah. So we focused a lot so far on the Guyana-Dominican Republic relationship, but I wanted to also delve into the relationship between the Dominican Republic and the wider Caribbean community, CARICOM, particularly now that President Dr. Irfaan Ali is the chairman of the Caribbean community, and we are hosting the Intersessional Heads of Government meeting here. How really do you see the DR leveraging Guyana's position as the chairman of CARICOM right now?
I think it's a very auspicious moment. President Ali has developed an unquestionable leadership, regional leadership. And as you know, we also have the vision, we share the vision that the Caribbean has to be united, that the Caribbean has to prosper together, that we have to show solidarity, that we have to show determination to develop this into an area of peace and stability and of growth. For example, you're hosting the 46th meeting of heads of state and government soon. Unfortunately, it coincides with the National Day of the Dominican Republic, which is on February 27th. So on the 26th, the agenda of the meeting here stipulated a meeting to discuss the situation in Haiti. We really wanted our president to be present during this meeting. However, his obligation, his constitutional obligation to deliver what we could say is the State of the Republic address before Congress makes it impossible for him to leave the country. So we're going to try to have someone representing the Dominican Republic during that meeting, because we know that anything that happens in the region will in certain way affect the others. In the case of Haiti, unfortunately, I think they are going now through one of the most difficult moments in their history. So it was very important for us. The vision that our president and our government has shared actually concerning CARICOM is that we want to become even closer. And this government has been coherent and consistent in showing and expressing the intentions of becoming as close as possible. I honestly, if it was up to us, we would have been, I think, a member a long, long time ago, if it was up to the Dominican Republic. And as I mentioned to you before, we are not only thinking about the economy. We're thinking about building a solid bond based on values, based on our shared history, based on our culture. We have to become closer together in order to ensure that we keep this region stable and peaceful and robust.
Yes. The Dominican Republic, to follow up on something you just mentioned, has requested to join CARICOM at least twice before. Does that ambition still exist? Do you want to be part of the Caribbean community as a full member?
Well, I would have to request authorization probably to answer, but we have expressed our intentions, as you say, formally. Mm-hmm. We have.
Okay. And as we're sort of winding down, I wanted to ask, again, we mentioned the areas of collaboration between Guyana and the Dominican Republic. But what areas do you see the Dominican Republic collaborating with CARICOM on some more?
In all areas. I don't think the vision of cooperation has any kind of restrictions. On the contrary, we can learn from the experience of many of the countries in CARICOM and vice versa. In many, many areas. We still have, of course, a lot of areas that we need to improve. But we're on the way. Mm-hmm. It's just that, for example, I served in Asia for 10 years. I was posted in Seoul, South Korea, and in Japan. We, because of our history, we have a different vision when it comes to chronology. We are more like, we want results instantly. But in those countries, their planning sometimes is 5 decades. You know what I mean? I think it's part of our nature. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit more impatient. You're a little bit, So we have to start thinking, I believe, like that, in the long run. Mm-hmm. We have to start thinking in the long run. So I again ratify the idea that we can collaborate in all areas. What we need to be is as integrated as possible, because if we're united, we're much stronger.
Mm-hmm. And to just follow up on that, on the point of being much stronger if you're united, do you see the DR as, I would say, a country that could be a heavyweight in CARICOM to sort of protect it from external shocks?
I think if we are united, we will be protected from external shocks, because precisely, we could be self-sufficient in producing in agriculture. We have also one of the memorandum of understanding is precisely in the area of food security. We could be self-sufficient in the Caribbean. We could be. If we became closer together now with this potential that you have in hydrocarbons, that I think you could, serve as as an element that will guarantee the security, the energy security for the whole region. And when it comes to the agricultural productions, Guyana has all the potential in the world. You're the biggest country in terms of size in the Caribbean region. And the Dominican Republic, as you know, can serve as a paradigm for sustainable agriculture. Our production is quite high, quite high. And I think if we unite our forces, we can achieve the dream, but we have to start thinking in the long term. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's something that we need to emulate from the wise nations of the Far East.
Ambassador, the future looks bright. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again for the invitation.